Hello, welcome back. Once again, we are going to do something a little different today. Today we're going to talk about the film Jonathan. This is a German film. Only the second German film of 1970. Yes, we're going back to 1970 again. This is part of the cluster of films I've recently found that have been added to the world of availability since I finished, or thought I had finished, the year 1970. I think I finished 1970 like 16 months ago, and then upon a recent search, someone had uploaded this to YouTube 9 months ago. So, couldn't have watched it back then. Now, the thing is, the film's in German, and unfortunately, there's no English subtitles. But there are Portuguese subtitles, which, believe it or not, I can actually understand about 70% of what I read in Portuguese. I can understand an even higher amount of Spanish, and the two are very similar. Also, this film has a very large amount of runtime with no dialogue at all. I'm not sure, but definitely over half the movie has no dialogue. So I watched it, and when it was all said and done, I think I was able to comprehend pretty much the entire thing. So the film was released in 1970 in Western Germany, and it is set here in the town of Kiel. It's in the northernmost state of Germany, which I'm not going to be able to pronounce it right. I think it's like, I don't know, something Holstein. It starts with an S. It used to be two separate places that combined into one. Schielweiss Holstein or something like that. But it's in the town of Kiel. And it's set actually mostly in Castle Kiel, or Kiel Castle, which is actually not really a castle, but it's actually like a manor. Anyway, at the time that the movie was set, Kiel would have been part of the country of Prussia, which I thought was interesting. So anyway, what's the movie about? The movie, which it actually says there at the bottom that it's based on Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, although I'm very familiar with Dracula, and I don't really see any similarities at all, other than the fact that vampires are in it and that Dracula was a vampire. Other than that, it doesn't seem even remotely similar to me. But anyway, the movie is set in a fictional time period where vampires are the ruling class, which I found to be very interesting. Vampires are the ruling class, and the surviving humans are all like peons, and the vampires use them as slaves or as just like, food stock. Basically, the humans meet near the beginning of the movie, and they decide that they need to have like a revolution against the vampires. And they select, now I don't totally understand this part, and it might be a language thing, but I looked up information on the movie and I couldn't get an answer. But for some reason, they choose him as a scout or like a spy. They choose this guy, Jonathan, to go into the castle and try and, I don't know, find a weakness for the vampires or something like that. The movie feels kind of like a Jean Rollin film. Jean Rollin, of course, is the French director who did a whole bunch of vampire films in the early 70s. Although, to be fair, at this point in time, there had been maybe one or two Jean Rollin vampire films, and those two were really, really abstract and surreal. So actually, this feels more like slightly later Jean Rollin films, the Jean Rollin films of 1971, including Shiver of the Vampires and what's the other one? Of course, I can't remember. No. Well, one of them was Shiver of the Vampires. But anyway, it feels like those, but those came after this. So, I have seen a lot of people saying it's like Jean Rollin style, but actually it came before he really started doing movies in this style. Anyway, the movie has it feels like, and I'm sure it is, a political metaphor to the ruling class versus the working or working class, I guess. Um, it's pretty interesting. Um, they don't have a lot of the action until the end of the movie, but that's okay. There's some parts that I'm not sure I totally understand, but I think it's supposed to be, it's definitely very artsy and somewhat abstract. So I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10, although, keep in mind that I didn't watch it in English. So I probably might have appreciated it even more if I knew 100% of what was being said, but I think I got most of it. Anyway, we're going to talk some more about the details, so if you want to go watch it on your own, if you don't mind watching a movie that's not in English, you can watch it on YouTube right now. So here's a couple of the cool or interesting things that happen. So they send Jonathan to the castle on like a horse and buggy, horse coach, and somehow the vampires know that he's going to go there. So he's trying to sleep on the trip, and then while he's sleeping, these two vampires come and like catch up with the horse and buggy because it's going real slow, and one of them kills the driver, and the other one like kind of like I guess like dresses as a human. Oh, he goes to this little shack, and inside the shack is a hunchback and a girl, and they have like 300 inverted crucifixes in there. I think that the girl and the hunchback are not vampires, but they're employed by the vampires to like collect all the crucifixes so that the crucifixes do not harm the vampires, and I think that's the purpose of the shack. Also, the vampire goes in there to get food and a change of clothes. Now, maybe I don't know. Like, I guess all the vampires dress differently than the humans did. A lot of the vampires wore black, and they wore like fancier clothes, and so this vampire changes into like, I guess, poor human clothes. It's a little bit confusing, but anyway, he changes so that he's not recognized as a vampire. And then when Jonathan wakes up, he sees that his driver is dead and that he has to walk the rest of the way. And so this vampire in human clothes says he wants to walk with him or whatever, but really his mission is to kill him. Now, I don't know why he doesn't just kill him right straight off the bat, but he waits until he's sleeping and then starts choking him. So I don't understand why he doesn't just bite him, but maybe the male vampires only bite the females in this one. Also, the vampire rules, much like the Jean Rollin films, are different in this movie. Crucifixes hurt the vampires, but sunlight does not. Also, if they get shot or stabbed, they die. Like, they're mortal vampires. So basically, they're just like humans, except they feast on human blood, and crucifixes hurt them. So they're vampires. But, like, you can just shoot them and they die, which is what happens in the final battle scene. Or stab them. So, like, they're not immortal, which is weird. Anyway, he chokes Jonathan. Jonathan wakes up. They fight, and Jonathan ends up stabbing the vampire to death. So there's that. Really, the vampires kind of seem weaker than humans because they're immortal and they are prone to crucifixes. So I never caught how the vampires came to power. I'm not sure if that was mentioned, although there was no large chunk of dialogue that I didn't understand. There were like words that I didn't understand, individual words, but there was no like large piece where I was like, I don't understand this. So I'm not sure how the vampires got to be in power, but by the end, they're run out quite easily. Also, I know, you're already past the spoiler point, but don't watch this if you don't want to see animals get hurt, because a guy kills a rat on screen for like basically no reason, which is just totally unnecessary. There's this part where they go into this dungeon and there's these people, and actually the rats are like on this person with like their entrails all out. The movie's pretty gory, by the way. There's definitely entrails and brains, and like no one really gets like killed like on screen. Well, no, that's not true. Like, people get stabbed and shot on screen, but no one gets like eviscerated on screen. But there are some scenes where there's just like probably mannequins or whatever laying there with their brains out or their guts out or whatever. So it's not for a lot of the movie, but there's a few scenes where like Jonathan's walking around, looks down and sees, there's just some like obliterated people laying there. Overall, yeah, like I said, I give it a 7 out of 10. It could only get higher, I imagine, if I would have actually understood 100% of the dialogue. It doesn't totally make sense, but it's supposed to be, I think, a art film and political metaphor film anyway, so it doesn't need to make sense. Plus, it's about vampires, so it doesn't have to fully make sense. But yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good overall, so 7 out of 10. We'll see what we got for next time. See you then.